This is Karen with NewClevelandRadio.net, and it is time for the Intentionality Gurus with Candace Pollock. And I want to remind you to go to our website, theintentionalitygurus.com. You'll find a lot of information out there and links to all of the podcasts. And go to the Facebook page because people are signing up and are looking at what we're doing. So, Candace, I think we are on the road to sharing some really good information with people.
All due to your good efforts, Karen. So thank you.
Well, I love what we do, and it's helping me. And today I understand we're going to talk about the commitment to enough.
Yeah, so, we've been utilizing a lot of the material from the 15 commitments of conscious leadership, and you would think I'd be done with the book by now, but, that's what happened to me when I first picked it up. I thought, oh, this is an awfully meaty book. And, I had acquired the attention span of a gnat. So picking up meaty books was not what I felt I was up to, like high school and college. But it's been rewarding for me, and I hope rewarding of those items from the book that I've shared with you and with others. And so we're getting to the tail end of the 15 commitments. I'm not going to cover them all, but this one spoke to me, and I caught myself in the act of a lot of things that I would like to maybe switch up in terms of my perspective. Alrighty, so. As with the other commitments, the authors, and it's Jim Detmer, Diana Chapman, and Kaylee Warner Klump, who wrote the book, and they have a lot of material online, the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. So they have a paradigm above the line and below the line. So above the line is when we're open, curious, and not defensive. We're looking just to be open to what may present as an answer or solution to things. And below the line is we're defensive, we're have that mentality that we're a victim and things are happening to us. We're not open to getting new information and possibly changing things. So in the above the line mentality or perspective, we're saying, I commit to experiencing that I have enough of everything. And that could be time, it could be money, it could be love, it could be energy, space, resources. So the catchword might be sufficiency. And regarding time, it could be time for ourselves, time for other people, for doing other things. And below the line, it's a commitment to having a scarcity mentality, choosing to see that there is not enough for me or for others in the world. And therefore I have to be conscious of making sure I get my share and preserve what's mine, that scarcity mentality. So I'm sure we've been seeing that in the news readily.
Right.
Would you agree? With are there going to be enough vaccines and, all the rest of it. And in fact, socially as a society, we have to be conscious of not having enough because it's part of our survival mechanism, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So we're socialized into thinking of things, categorizing things as have and have nots. And when I say that, what occurs to you?
Well, it's really interesting because over the weekend, it being the Jewish holiday, if it had been any other year, I would have felt that I didn't have enough, okay? That I wasn't with family, I wasn't with friends, and not counting out my husband and my son, but I mean, being in this large group. And so I would have said, I don't have enough. And I would have felt like the world was sort of against me because I was all alone. But this year, because of the pandemic, I felt like I had enough. I had my husband and son with me. I connected with friends and family, some who I had not reached out to in a long time. And I just realized that, if I can accept what I have at the moment as enough, that can make me happy. you know, I can't, I can't always deal with the things that are not in my um, wheelhouse. And so when I saw you put this down for today, the commitment to have enough or to be enough is to be satisfied with what we have and, not have a pity party.
Yeah, and remember from prior conversations we've had, we're hardwired as mammals to have the sense of going back over things, what went wrong. That's part of our survival. We have to figure out if something went awry because it could save our self. We could save ourselves going forward by learning from our mistakes. But the downside to it is we can do it to a fault and ruminate and not spend time in the present. Or the alternative is we jump ahead and worry about the future and doing the same thing, kind of anticipating what can go wrong. So we're not staying in the present. And that really is all we have. Everything else is just a fiction.
Right.
It's just a function of our brains. But we spend a lot of time on both ends of that spectrum and not in the middle. Well, the thing I like about this particular chapter is, they reinforce that we're not supposed to necessarily focus on a specific area of lack or insufficiency, scarcity, because we'll always find something. I mean, it just goes with the territory. But to be just thinking in terms, in very general terms, about our mindset, our mentality, about how it tends to be showing up for us. And, are we tending to show up on the end of the spectrum that is from the scarcity side versus the enough side? And when we catch ourselves in the act, as I was doing, it just, that's that shift we talk about, seeing the fork in the road, and then we have a choice, and we can say, okay, whoops, I almost ran through that stop sign and continue to go down the path to scarcity, but I'm going to back up, and now I'm going to take the other fork in the road and look for things I can be grateful for, things where they are enough. So I think I mentioned to you that I can't remember how many years ago now, my sisters and I share a practice of emailing. We're in different states. Well, actually, my two sisters are in one state now. We've consolidated. But for the longest time, we were in 3 different states, and we didn't, our hours were off and, various demands on our time. So we didn't always get to talk. And when we do, they tend to be marathon talk sessions. So we have to be really careful about those. So we started a practice of just emailing a gratitude post every morning, or whatever time of day we could do it. I tend to do mine in the morning. And I don't know what happened earlier this year. I just kind of fell out of the saddle on that. And I could see a difference. I mean, not in the moment, not immediately, not the first day or second day. It went on for about a week and a half, maybe 15 days, 2 weeks, I suppose. And it had an actual tangible result, because I could feel myself kind of closing in with that not enough. I wasn't thinking about this chapter at the time, but looking back, I recognize now that was it. So I started it up again, and it's not like everything's going rosy in my life. Certainly, I'm like any human, but it just helps us to keep perspective, keeping the dogs at bay.
Right.
And the author cite Lynn Twist. I wonder if she has children named Oliver or
I like
that. But she's the author of The Soul of Money, which intrigues me. And she says that a lot of people have a mantra of not enough when it comes to money. That's a very common mantra. And then it becomes a justification for a lot of the things we do that lead to an unfulfilled life. So do you know anybody like that?
Yes, somebody very, very close to me. And, that's never been where I've come from. I've never had a lot of money, but I've always looked at it as, I have enough to put food on my table. I have enough to do whatever it is I want. And maybe some of the things that I'm not doing, it's just not the time to do them. And so I don't get myself embroiled in the fact that I'm not making enough, I haven't saved enough, I don't have enough. Whereas this other person um, spends it faster than they make it. And it's always, oh, woe is me. You know, I can't do something because I don't have the money to do it. And I think those are choices we make.
Yeah, definitely. I went to school with two women who were quite well off, but one definitely had a bag lady syndrome. The other person, I think, had some underlying tendencies. It just wasn't so apparent. But here I am in the middle. And so one was saying when she would buy something, she would buy 5 of it. And when the other person, let's say it was a blouse, she would buy it in 5 different colors. And the other person said one time, and I'm sitting in the middle, said, would you rather have one $500 blouse or 5 $100 blouses? And I'm thinking, wait, there's something wrong with this equation just from the get-go. But their thinking was it had to be more. So this Lynn Twist in her book that they are talking about in this section, the authors are talking about in this section, is saying that there are 3 toxic myths about enough. So this is, for me, in my twisted little mind, the fun part to rethink how we think about these things. So there's the never enough myth that, we might be left out. There's not enough to go around.
Okay.
There's the more is better myth. So that was the one with the 5 blouses.
Right.
And believing that we never have quite arrived at where we need to be, where, there's a striving element there. And we're always pursuing something more. And then the other is, that's just the way it is. The third myth is that, so there's a hopelessness, that can't be changed. You just have to accept your fate, kind of a deal, with an inherent unfairness or sense of inequality. You can't change it or escape it. So I just, I was pondering that. And, one of my big bugaboos is not having enough time. And I would always say out loud, I'm too busy, I'm so busy. And my younger sister said to me, oh, Candy, you always say that. And my response was, but it's true, But, of course there was enough time, because when I need to make it, I do.
Right.
But in the moment, I, can live as if there's not enough time. And of course, that's no fun. So with all the things, all the roles that you juggle, how does that work for you?
So my personality has changed quite a bit, especially this past year. And there once was a time I would say, just like you, I don't have enough time. And yet I would take on more things to do, and I would get them all done. Okay.
Right. Give a busy person something and they'll get it done, something to do and they'll get it done. Right.
Exactly. And, I decided one day that this just is ridiculous, because why am I, and I'll give an example. So maybe I had worked all day long and gone to the grocery store and ran other errands. And now I came home and I'm taking stuff out of the dryer to put away. And I look at the clock and I realize my husband and son are going to be home like in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I would rush through making sure I got all those clothes put away. God forbid they see that I didn't do something. And I woke up one day and I realized, why am I so compelled to get everything done? Because some of the things I was getting done probably didn't have to get done.
And I don't think you probably have a home inspection. People come in and say, oh, Karen, you didn't fold those towels.
Exactly. But that's how I was living my life. Okay. It was like, well, of course, all these things have a place and they all have to get taken care of. And then I finally thought to myself, you know what? If the laundry sits in the dryer a little bit longer, it will. And if it's not my clothes, it's somebody else's clothes, they can go find them there. And so when I say that I have enough or this is the way it is, it's not necessarily for me giving into, oh, woe is me, I'm never going to have any more. This is how it is for now. And this is enough for now. And if I want more, then I'll work at having more. And if I want less, I can work at, having less. And it's a whole new mindset. And it's I don't walk around with this tightening in my gut that I haven't accomplished something.
And so what's the outcome from that in terms of why that's good for you?
Number one, I'm enjoying most of the things that I do. I'm not making myself sick over it, which I had in the past. Like I said, if I looked at the clock, oh, they're going to be home in 10 minutes. As I was rushing through doing something, I could, make my stomach hurt, have a headache, just get into a terrible mood. And now it's more of a mindset of, okay, do I want to feel good or do I want to feel bad? And who wants to feel bad? Nobody. So I'm just going to see what it means to feel good.
And has anyone noticed about the stuff in the laundry?
To a great degree, they have. I'm still, I still have those OCD, components in my life. I do understand that, but they do see a difference. And, occasionally when I'll make the comment, I think you have clothes in the dryer. Sometimes they'll look at me and go, yeah. And it's like, and if you want those clothes, you'll have to go to the dryer and get them. And they do. So I think they're picking up on it. But I like to be busy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though I may have complained about doing the laundry or doing the dishes or, taking the trash out or whatever it is, I'm doing it because I like being busy. I like doing things. I like getting things done. It's almost like I have this checklist. Oh, look at all these things I did. Boy, that makes me feel good.
Well, and I imagine, you can tell me where I'm wrong, but I imagine also there's more gratification in something like that when it's your choice, and there's more consciousness around it.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's no fun as a rule when somebody's, volunteering us to do things, and who says that I have to be responsible for everything. I remember when I was married, my husband would ask things like, where are the keys? And I would say, under the third cushion on the couch. Like, somehow I knew that, but how did that happen that it became my responsibility? His keys became my responsibilities. But I just reinforced the idea that, I'm the overseer of everything.
Well, that does happen around here. My husband, if something gets misplaced, it's always, now he won't ask me if I moved it. Did I see it? And I'd be like, I'm not even sure what you're talking about. And then he'll describe it and maybe now I remember. And it's like, that's not mine. So I don't remember seeing it. But it can be anything from keys to a piece of paper to, and he was looking for some object the other day for the internet. And I had no idea. And so I just started going through things and then I found it. I said, oh, is this what you're looking for? And he goes, yeah. See, I knew you knew where it was. It was like, no. I didn't want to hear it from you. Okay. So I started looking and yeah, I found it. Yeah.
So some of the things they talk about is scarcity as being a component of comparison, how we compare ourselves to the outside, not just internally. And, you know, from a perspective of it's better or it's not better. And that, you know, that's in the neighborhood of enough or not enough. And the it's better or not better triggers competition. I don't know if you've ever had that. I remember years ago, there was somebody at work who, let's say, had an unfortunate communication style. And she would kind of go on and on and on. And I would feel my adrenaline begin to pick up because I thought, well, you know, one that, you know, that wasn't such a great whatever. And, you know, that's old news in essence. And then finally I was able to collar myself and say, like, wait, you're not in competition with this person. You know, she just happens to be happy with the progress, something she discovered that, you know, I was a little older than her. So, you know, it's embarrassing to admit to those petty little things, but I'm human. And then the other part is conducting our own self-inquiry about who are we comparing ourselves against? There was a guy who was an attorney, and I used to say to myself constantly, if he could do it, I would name his name to myself. If he could do it, so can I. And then years later, actually, now that I think about it, that person I was just talking about that that would go on, and I would think, well, that's no big deal. Used to say, well, if Candy can go to law school, I figured I could. It's like, wait a minute, I don't like the sound of that. But she didn't mean it that way. At least I hope not. And how about scarcity in the workplace? You ever experienced anything like that with employees or coworkers?
Oh, yes. I mean, again, being a do it now person, I found when I was in corporate America that when I knew that we had deadlines for certain things, I pushed myself. And when I saw my coworkers not doing their share, I jumped in and did their share because I didn't want to get the wrath of upper management saying, you know, you didn't do what you were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, it took me leaving corporate America to realize that I was causing my own problems. You know, I didn't have, I should have just done my work and not worried about theirs. But I felt I was on a team. And the same thing happened to me when I was in grad school because I did most of my classes online and we were in teams. And so when we had to write a paper, if person who was writing the intro wasn't coming up with it, you know, at all of our project meetings, you know, I would just add that to my plate because had to have it. We can't turn in, you know, a paper without an intro or the conclusion or whatever it was. And so I was doing double work and I was getting angry and it was my own fault.
And those are tough, particularly when you're in a school setting like that or a work setting where you don't really truly have, I guess the best word I can come up with right now is jurisdiction or authority over somebody. You're an equal. And so who's to say that, you know, we can assert one standard over the other? But I certainly have been in my share of three-legged races with coworkers, and you know, they're going in a different direction when the goal line is, you know, on the other side of the room or something, and it's awkward. So this part I really liked from the material from Lynn Twist that they mention in this chapter. And she says, sufficiency is not an amount. It's not comparative at all. It is an experience, the context we generate, knowing there is enough and we are enough. I just love that. Because when I had to admit, when I first read it, I was thinking of it as being an amount. You know, I wasn't thinking of a particular, you know, dollar or whatever it happened to be that I was taking through, amount of time. But just to take that quantification out of the experience, I thought had a lot of potential.
Well, there's something about the word enough that really intrigued me. I have a friend who wrote a song, and I've been listening to it regularly in my car because it's on CD. And the lyrics are, the way I see it, it reminds me of my mother when my mother was dying, but my mother just kept wishing me and my brothers enough. And there was no definition what enough was. And when I listened to the song, I realized now what she was probably saying to us, and the way I interpret the song is that, that we're happy with ourselves. And if you have enough of that happiness, enough of that energy to do the things that you want to do, or the energy not to do what you want to do, her wish would come true by wishing us enough. And so when I see the word, I don't think of it anymore as, dollar sign or how many cars you have, or if you have a bigger house than the next person. It's, what makes you feel good right now?
It's a nice thought. It's a nice wish that she had for you.
Right.
So they talk about time in terms of, how relative it is. 60 seconds of your finger pinched in a drawer, that shut on it is, hellishly long, whereas 60 seconds with someone you love isn't. And the same thing, it's the same 60 seconds. Same thing in terms of, any of the other areas, not just time. But here's another part that Twist talks about, the 3 truths of sufficiency, that money is like water. You direct where it goes, regardless of the flow. What you appreciates, and collaboration creates prosperity. And so, that gratitude practice that I have, a little more so than my sisters, it has made a huge difference in my life. I mean, I look forward to finding things to be grateful for. I mean, they're just falling out of the trees everywhere I go. I see them. I can't always remember them to share. And those things were happening before I started practicing gratitude. I just, was kind of blind to it all, but it enriches my life.
Sure.
And they include a sufficiency meditation to create a state of being. So if anybody wants to read that, it's in the book. And they suggest doing something like that in the morning, basically holding your breath as long as you can and experience not having enough. And then the next one, breathing shallowly, noticing the difference to the before when you're holding your breath and not feeling enough, and then doing some big belly breaths and being aware of the fullness of it. And just to kind of sensitize us to the idea of what those mental barriers are around enough. So what stands out for you in that?
Well, what stands out for me is that when you take the time to do the things that bring you pleasure, comfort, time, you don't worry about time because things just happen. But it's when you don't take the time to breathe in properly, you're causing the problems that are around you. You can't see the gratitude.
Yeah, and it magnifies all of the things that are not right in our imagination. Definitely. Definitely.
I have a son who he has to always, something could be really great for him right now, but immediately it will be, well, what if that doesn't stay that way? And then he takes it all the way down, way below the line about, how bad it could be. And it'd be like, whoa, how did you go from up here all the way down? And why? But that's part of his personality. That's how he looks at things. Whereas, if I'm here, I may think about, there could be adverse reactions and there could be positive reactions, but I don't dwell on them, like he does. And so sometimes I just have to walk away when he's in that frame of mind, because that can pull me down. And
it can be not contagious in the strict sense, but it can influence the mood.
Absolutely.
So, well, that's all I had to offer from that chapter. I mean, I have to say, I was resistant to this book when I first saw it, and I'm glad I dove into it a little more deeply, and I hope people are enjoying some of the elements. And
I welcome them to Google it, because I've been doing that in between our shows. And you can find, little snippets of what we've been talking about. And I think, even if you don't want to go out and get the book and you don't want to read the book cover to cover, that's okay. But Google some of these ideas that we're talking about, because I find that if I feel like I'm slipping, it helps me, gain some energy, and especially taking that temperature control and finding out, am I above the line or below the line?
Yeah, just remembering. And they have a lot of free material online, just under, 15 commitments of conscious leadership, PDFs and little YouTube videos and so on.
Well, we'll be back again in 2 weeks. In the meantime, for all listening, I hope you all have a happy Easter, and that the Easter Bunny brings everybody lots of chocolate. And if you don't like chocolate, you can send it my way. So have a great day.
Thank you so much, Karen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.